Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Ambassadorial Wing. I am, of course, your host, the Ambassador, and hope you all are having a pleasant Tuesday night. It is Tuesday. It's Tuesday. It's not Hump Day. That's tomorrow. It's not TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. It's just Tuesday, and we're live back here on the Ambassadorial Wing. Hope you all enjoy the stream tonight. Of course, if you do enjoy that stream, hit the like button, hit the share button, and of course, if you have not been to the Ambassador Wing before, where we don't talk pop culture. I need to amend that to my intro. We talk cinema. We talk movies, we talk streaming, which we'll be discussing tonight. And if that is your sort of scene, if that's what you enjoy watching on the YouTube or on Twitter or on Twitch or wherever you're watching this on the internet, this is the place to be. And tonight, let's talk Netflix. But let's chill, just not in that sort of way. Because I'm married happily for almost will be 9 years pretty Wednesday. The latest special on I can't remember the name of the special. I watched it the other night. I watched it literally last night, and I wanted to go ahead and go live and discuss it while it was still fresh in my head. What was the name of Chris Rock's? It's going to drive me nuts. Selective Outrage. That's the name of the special. Selective Outrage. And no, I will not be showing clips of it here because, well, Netflix, much like other platforms, a lot of other companies, likes to eat streams when you show footage from their content, which I get. I understand. I'm not stupid. So, and no, I'm not offended either. So, with all that being said, let's get into this. Let's see. Where do we want to begin? Let's begin by dropping the link in the chat. Because I don't do this on my own. This isn't just an echo chamber where it's just me talking out into the void or to whoever is watching this. I like to hear other people's opinions too. So I'm going to drop the link, as I am known to do, in the chat. And for anybody who comes on in here and wants to talk either about Chris Rock or Wednesday, the link is there. By all means, use it. So, let's begin with Mr. Yes, I'm a fan of Chris Rock. I like his brand of comedy, although it is rather obscene. That's his style. Who am I to critique his style? And I watched Rage last night, and I had heard about the now infamous or the now famous clip at the end of his special where he discussed the incident with him and Will Smith from last year's Oscars. And I will discuss all parts of his special, not just that, but I want to start there. And well, Mr. Rock said it perfectly and very succinctly. Will Smith is a bitch. A bitch of his own making, but all the same, a bitch. And as Chris Rock said last night, he made a very bitch move by slapping him for a joke. And I by no means endorse or condone by any means domestic violence towards anybody's spouse, male or female, or otherwise, husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. And if y'all hear some clacking in the background, it's my cat. Well, it's me and Madam Ambassador's cat. Hello, Stormy. The two things that'll make you famous on the internet: Netflix and cats. But do I agree necessarily with Chris Rock's assessment, rather obscene assessment of the situation with Will Smith and his wife and the rest of their family? It's not my place to necessarily comment on someone else's marriage, but I will say this much at least. An open marriage or an open relationship is not a healthy one by any means, whether you are a celebrity or you are a private individual. Now, again, this is just my take, nothing more, nothing less. Am I saying all open marriages or all open relationships are broken or are toxic? Considering Will Smith in his situation, I can't necessarily say it's good. But that aside, do I agree with what Will Smith did to Chris Rock a year ago? Hence the Oscars. No, I don't agree with what Will Smith did to Chris Rock because Chris Rock made a joke, a maybe very triggering joke, as that's one of the things that Chris Rock addressed in his special last night. But unfortunately, people nowadays, especially celebrities, are easily offended. But Chris Rock last night pulled no punches, whether it was Will Smith or any other topic that he touched upon, including his own family, especially one of his daughters, Lola. I think it was he is what is her name. And to say Chris Rock is successful is an understatement. He is a very successful comedian. He has had a successful stand-up career. He has released several CDs of his material. A few of them I have listened to and I very much enjoyed. His film career has been rocky, but in this special, he has returned to form. He has returned to what he does best, and that is stand up. That is making people laugh and making people think, and that is by no means a bad thing. And he starts off the special, I'm not going to do like a synopsis. Most of you, if you're watching this, you know what he talked about in his special. I'm giving my commentary. Did I laugh my head off? Yes. Yes, I did. I emphatically laughed my head off at Chris Rock's stand up last night. Did I get a chance to watch it live? Unfortunately, no, I didn't. But I got to watch the record. Obviously, I got to watch the recording, and his manner of delivery, the wording he uses, I cannot repeat here, nor would I try to, by any means. I would not try to repeat it here. I'm not looking to get myself canceled or yeeted on YouTube or in general on social media. But I will comment on the other facets of his routine from selective outrage. And one of many things I do want to comment on that I cannot say I absolutely disagree with is his assessment of current culture. And yes, I will be poking perhaps a few bears, but in this case I don't care. During his routine, Chris Rock made the comment that white men, yes, I'm a white man, I recognize as such, and I identify as such. I don't identify, I simply am. That white men felt that they were losing the country, and I could not help but go to various individuals on social media and on the internet. Dimcock, Geeks and Gamers Nerdrotic, I'm looking at you. We're all we are all white men, and we're sitting on the internet complaining that we're losing the country and we're losing our culture. How dense are you? Go listen to Chris Rock. You could apply every single solitary thing that Chris Rock said in that special to certain individuals on the internet. Like I just said, Doomcock, Geeks and Gamers are erotic, and I'm sure the list goes further than that. And he remarks on how utterly ridiculous, and I will say this, he commented on the January 6th riots back in 2021. And he's like, they're going in there into the Capitol trying to take the government back from themselves. And I could not help but bust out laughing. I could not help myself but bust out laughing because he was right. But I don't necessarily talk politics, but I was just wanted to remark on that particular aspect of his comment, of his bit there. You could literally take Chris Rock's bit about white men feeling like they're losing the country and they're losing their culture and apply it to the individuals I have already mentioned. And I would imagine all those individuals would probably have a massive, massive freak out. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if they didn't do videos on it or did live streams on it. And I just have to say to those individuals, have you no self-awareness? Go take a look at the culture and the country we're living in. Yes, the country is in a mess, and Chris Rock even mentioned that. He's like, we have never been more divided. He's like, if the Russians invaded, probably half the country would say, hey, let's hear him out. Again, absurd, but there's something to be said for the truthfulness of Chris Rock's commentary on the current state of the country. You know, listening to his routine last night, he reminds me of a late great comedian who I have a personal fondness for. Who, if he were still alive today, I would absolutely love for him to lambaste and roast certain politicians, both on the left and on the right. I would love him to lambaste the government, both on the left and on the right. And of course, that comedian is none other than the late, the great, the one and the only Mr. George Carlin. I don't want to necessarily draw comparisons because George Carlin's routine and Chris Rock's routine, in terms of delivery, in terms of certain commentary that they make, is different. But I will make this remark, and I hope it is not taken as offensive because it is not meant as such. But in terms of his comedic stylings and how he delivers them, Chris Rock is the Black George Carlin. And again, I mean no disrespect to either comedian. They both have my complete and utmost respect. But hearing Rock last night, I could not help but think, oh, George, if only you were still alive, what would you say? And probably you would say things not much different. Just with a little less use of the N-word. But again, I digress. That's his style. Not my place to say one way or the other. But he further went on to discuss his kids, his two daughters, particularly his daughter Lola. And the fact that he's like, I spoiled them. I admit it. I spoiled them. I spoiled them rotten. He's like, yeah, I'm rich. My wife's rich. I've done very well for myself, and I can afford to give my children the very best. He's like, I took them to Disneyland or Disney World all the time. He's like, the only time I got to go to Disney World was on a church trip. And the absolute hell that he described, granted, I imagine he may have exaggerated certain parts of that particular trip, or maybe he didn't. Who knows? But his church took a trip down to Disney World in August in an unconditioned church bus. And they ended up staying at a rather less than reputable hotel, one in which they had beds that vibrated. And he commented to his mom as a young child, "Mama, put another quarter in the bed." And she's like, "Okay, but this counts as a ride." Couldn't help but laugh. I could not help but laugh because, hey, Jeff B, good to see you, buddy. Appreciate you popping in. I remember the two trips I had taken to Disney World as a child. One as a child, one as an adult. First time I ever got to Florida. First time I ever got to go anywhere with someone other than my mom, my dad, or my grandmother. It was my uncle, my mom's brother. No, I'm not going to get choked up. I'm not going to do this. The uncle that just passed last year. And that was a trip I will long remember. That was a good time. Got to spend over a week with my uncle and my cousin. And that was, we did Disney World, we did Universal Studios, and we did Daytona Beach. I had never been to the beach. I had never seen the ocean. Got to see the ocean from both Jacksonville Beach and from Daytona Beach. Hell of a trip. And the other time I got to go to Disney World was when I was with my now ex-wife. And we did all 5 parks. Did Magic Kingdom, did Animal Kingdom. Yeah, Jeff, I mean, I love Chappelle. Don't get me wrong. I listened to Chappelle's last Netflix special, The Closer, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. But Chris Rock just hits a little bit different. And that's not a bad thing. But because the two of them had their own different styles and everything, very, very much so. Very, 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 they hit very different. But Chris Rock last night, I had not done stand up in a very long time. And I had heard about Jeff, before you came here, I was talking about the close of his set, where he discussed the incident with him and Will Smith. And Chris Rock has not lost a step in terms of being a stand-up comedian. Has not lost a step one single bit. And I won't lie, it took some adjustment because I have not heard a whole lot of profanity lately, at least not in terms of, well, I can't say it here. Obviously, I won't. But I have not heard such a profanity-laced comedic set in a very long time. So it was a bit of a shock, but I acclimated to it. Because, I went to high school in the 90s. We all cuss like hell. Everything you could think of. I probably heard some of the most creative profanity that I've ever heard in my life when I was in high school. Hell, I even said a little bit of it myself. I won't go into it here. But if you have not had the opportunity to check out Chris Rock's, yeah, yeah, Chris, yeah, Jeff, he did. He disappeared and everything. I can't say I blame him, but I have a feeling he was going. He disappeared for that year to start plotting his one, his comeback, and two, his revenge. Because last night, Chris Rock got his revenge, and again, I to a degree feel bad for Will Smith because of the situation he's in. But at the same time, what he did to Chris Rock was wrong. And last night, Chris didn't just punch him or slap him. He punched him. Probably gave him two black eyes and a busted nose, metaphorically speaking. Let me make sure I clarify that. And Chris was like, I could not believe what just happened. This slapped me for telling a joke about his wife who was bald. And, I know a lot of jokes have been made at Will Smith's expense here, especially, considering it's difficult, as a commentator, as a YouTuber, someone who is in the internet space and everything. You have to be careful what you say because, well, at the same time, what happened to Chris Rock on behalf of Will Smith was wrong. Chris Rock took that painful event, and as I said, he got his revenge. He metaphorically cleaned Will Smith's clock. I mean, I have never heard the word bitch used so many times in such a successive stream in a very, very long time. I mean it. The I I probably looked up how many times Chris Rock referred to Will Smith as a bitch. And not just specifically himself calling Will Smith a bitch, but other people calling Will Smith a bitch for what he's done and, quite frankly, for the relationship he's in. You know, okay, I'm going to be just a bit real and a bit vulnerable here for a minute. Just for a minute. No, it was Jeff B. It was completely and utterly it was the real deal and anything. It wasn't staged to any degree. But most of you know I was married before I met Man Ambassador. And I guess I should have seen the warning signs. I didn't. But especially after I ended up leaving my now ex-wife. I received what could be construed as little more than a list of demands. And in one of those demands, she wanted us to have an open relationship. Now, me being a bit naive and not as worldly as she is, I did reply to her. I said, when you say an open relationship, do you mean open emotionally? And that is where we are more open to each other in terms of dialogue and trying to keep the lines of communication open. She said, yes, but, or rather, yes, and. And I said, and what? She's like, and sexually. And I was like, no. Which I think would be normal response for any person, honestly. I said, no, we can have an open relationship, especially an open marriage, in terms of having the lines of communication open between us. But I will not engage in any sort of what I would, or most people would consider, deviant behavior. When you're with somebody, you're with somebody. That's it. There's no other people. There's no third parties. There's no fourth parties. There's no fifth or sixth parties. It's you and them. And that's it. And I'll tie this back into Chris Rock's routine here in a minute. And she bucked, and my ex bucked me. She's like, "Well, that's one of the conditions." I was like, "Well, then that's going to be the deal breaker, because I will not." And I said this emphatically: I will not share you nor bring anyone else into our relationship. Not going to happen ever. And I feel, as I said, tying this back into Chris Rock's comments and everything during his stand up from Selective Outrage. He was discussing the interview where somebody asked Will how he felt about Jada, his spouse, his wife, being with another man. So, and I do want to say hello to Chad, AVP, Elisa, Victoria Parker, my good friend, and Ferris of Ferris Geeks World. Good to see you both. And yeah, Alicia, that is absolutely true. So, but Chris, Chris Rock's. Yeah, Jeff, and I get what you're saying, but no, it was by no means staged, because I don't think any man would allow another man to just come up and slap him in the face for making a joke. I mean, for heaven's sakes, okay, put yourself in that similar situation. You're sitting there in an audience, and a comedian makes a joke about your spouse or your girlfriend or whoever. Are you going to go up there and just slap him in the face? No, because in the rest of the world that happens, your ass is getting sent to jail. But Will Smith being a celebrity and Chris Rock being a celebrity and it being the Oscars, they're not going to make a scene. But now Will Smith has been banned from the Oscars for 10 plus years. Or, well, for 10 years, exactly. So I don't think that was by any means staged, Jeff. So it's no, that is a real reaction. I'm now maybe now if you have a good sense of humor and the joke isn't too demeaning or too mean spirited. And I didn't take Chris Rock's joke that he made about Jada Pinkett being bald as being mean spirited. I mean, he's like, I guess they cast Jada for G.I. Jane, and Chris and Will got all pissy. And you know, I don't want to rehash this because it's already been talked about and everything, but in context to Chris Rock's special, we kind of have to. Did Will Smith act rationally? No, he didn't. And he's paying for it. Because, Jeff, unfortunately, concerning the situation that Will Smith is in terms of his marriage, as I mentioned before, I think in terms of my own experience with my now ex-wife, when somebody proposes something as preposterous as an open marriage or an open relationship, most people would probably say no. Now, why Will Smith didn't say no? Maybe he was doing it for the sake of his marriage. Maybe he was doing it for the sake of their kids, whatever the case may be. But think about just how bad of an environment that can be for a couple, for their family, whatever. And yeah, Chris Rock poked fun at the situation, particularly the interview, and particularly what happened to him. And that's what good comedians are able to do. They're able to cast what would be a very negative event in their own life in a humorous light. That's why Chris Rock is who he is, what he is, and why he's as successful as he is. But moving on to other parts of his special, he made comments about selective outrage, and again, I couldn't help but think about the environment on the internet and on social media. And I'll even point the finger at myself because for a while there, I can't. Oh, all media is being subverted. All of our old heroes are being torn down, destroyed. All new media sucks and is woke and is bad and is just ticking boxes and everything to do X, Y, and Z to placate certain not minorities, but majorities or minorities in our society, and blah blah blah, and yada yada yada. And you've heard the same argument ever since 2017. And we hear daily about, oh, this person because a joke, or this person was offended because of a meme, or this person was offended because of a comment. And then from the same people who made the comment or who made said comment, they're offended by something the other side had to say. But it's selective. It's if it fits the particular narrative, because let's be all honest with each other here. In the grand scheme of things, it's all about one narrative going against another. That's the long and short of it. So, and yeah, Ferris, I have to agree. And I think I'll bring up your comment here, Ferris. As much as I love Will Smith, and knowing that he finally won his Oscar, he should be smarter than that. I'm not really a fan of Jada. She's kind of a joke to me. She's kind of a joke to everybody because, well, I don't usually speak ill of another person's spouse, much less their wife. But let's be honest here. Jada Pinkett Smith is a skank. You can quote me on that. She's a skank, she's a bad wife, and she's, quite frankly, a bad mother. How a woman could do that to her husband or to her boyfriend is beyond me. And I'll just say this. Will, you could do a hell of a lot better. There are better women out there than her. And sure as hell ones demand that you be in an open marriage. with him. Yeah, Jeff, I said it. I won't repeat it, but I said it. She is. She is exactly what I called her. I won't use it here. But you can probably figure out the word. But again, I encourage all of you. I don't want to dwell on Chris Rock for too long because there's well, there's only to talk about in it. But if you've not watched, if you have Netflix and you can watch the Chris Rock Selective Outrage special, I would highly encourage you to do so. Shut up, Jeff. I would highly encourage you to do so because it is a great stand up routine from I think one of our very best comedians out there. And no, I do not care if Chris Rock is on the left. I do not care if he considers himself a liberal. I don't even particularly care if he voted Democrat in the last election or any election for that matter. I quite frankly only care about one thing. Can he make me laugh? Last night he did. So, but with that, let's move on to the next topic of the evening. And this is a little series that I had heard about and I had seen clips of. I, of course, seen the infamous clip, or not infamous, but the famous clip of Wednesday Addams portrayed by Jenna Ortega. The dance routine, the Goo Goo Mob. That very memeable, very showable. Did you know that Eddie Murphy made that Oscar reference in the Golden Globes this year? Still hilarious as usual. Eddie Murphy will always be one of the best too, Ferris. He will always be one of the best. And I will say it, though his film career has been up and down throughout the years, there are certain movies he's been in that I absolutely love. So, but Wednesday, the show, not the day. Now, I know a lot of people, those that I mentioned earlier, and probably their affiliates, had some issues with Wednesday. But I'm here to tell y'all, I literally just finished Wednesday. If anything, I binged it in a couple of days, and extremely well written, well acted, well directed series from Netflix with a wonderful cast. And is this another teenage drama? Well, teenage supernatural drama? Yes, it is. But is it one of the better ones? Oh, yeah. You bet your ass it is. Because it involves a particular family who we all know, who we all love, that has been adapted 7 Ways from Sunday, one of the most unusual, one of the most creepy, one of the most kooky, one of the altogether ookiest families in the history of pop culture, the Addams family. And going in, I did not know what to expect except for the one clip, the dance routine by Wednesday at what they call the Rave-In. And I was thoroughly entertained. This was a very entertaining series. Now, in terms of timeline, from what I understand, this is somewhat connected to the two 90s Addams Family films directed by Barry Sonnenfeld, who, with the late Raul Julia and Angelica Houston and Christina Ricci and Christopher Lloyd, and so on. And this is a teenage Wednesday who's going to a little school by the name of Nevermore Academy. And yes, they play up the Edgar Allan Poe references heavily, and I cannot say I don't appreciate them because I love Poe, love his poetry, love his short stories. I love Edgar Allan Poe to death. And they almost give you the idea that maybe Poe wasn't Adams, or maybe was a distant relative family because of certain references to both the movies and the both the animated shows or the animated series from the 90s and from the original black and white series that starred the great John Aston, who played the titular Gomez Adams. Now, in terms of cast, and I'm going to kind of break this all down, everything going through the whole thing. You, of course, as I mentioned, Jenna Ortega as Wednesday Adams. You've got Luis Guzman as Gomez, and you have Catherine Zeta-Jones as Morticia. Now, I heard a lot of people when this show was announced and when it first got started, right? Gomez isn't supposed to look like that. Au contraire, mon frere. Because if you're familiar with the animated series from the 90s, and if you're familiar with the original character designs for all the Adamses, Gomez was short. Gomez was chubby. Now, was Gomez necessarily Latino? I don't care. Raul Julia, I'm pretty sure, isn't Caucasian. I don't know for certain, but I don't think he was. But I will say this. For Luis Guzman and Catherine Zeta-Jones as Gomez and Morticia, they nailed it. And they're not the focus. Wednesday is. But the times that they are on screen, they behave exactly as you would envision Gomez and Morticia behaving. The French, the kissing, the caressing, the allusion to mild BDSM, and so on. And hey, if that's what Gomez and Morticia like to do in their marriage, hey, who are we to judge? At least it's healthy. At least it's just the two of them. Jada's a skank. Sorry about that. No, but you gave me a look. Anyway, of course, you have some visits from other members of the Addams family. Yeah, Ferris. I actually looked that up and I was like, wait a minute. I recognize those names. And then I was like, oh crap, that's Smallville. And I wanna make sure I get these names right. So give me just a minute, guys. I want to look this up. Cast. Oh, come on. Cast for. Here it is. Cast for Wednesday. Thank you. Thank you, Finley. Yeah, here we go. Okay, yeah. The other members of the Addams family that make an appearance, you got Fred Armisen as Uncle Fester, and I was like, when's Uncle Fester showing up? Because he is by far one of the most marketable members of the Addams family. Everybody loves Uncle Fester, and I love the fact that he can actually, at this point, emit electricity. Literally, he can shoot electricity. He's almost like a semi-Sith Lord. And of course, you've got Thing. Who plays Thing? Come on. Oh, come on. Who plays Thing? You're telling me they list everybody, but they don't list who plays Thing? What a jip. Anyway. And I will say this: an absolute standout from this show, an actress who as much as I dislike it, I feel got royally snubbed by the sequel trilogy. Gwendolyn Christie as headmistress Larissa Weems. Gwendolyn, you kicked ass. She did. She absolutely kicked ass in the series. And of course, they had Christina Ricci as a reoccurring character, Marilyn Thornhill, who actually who you know what, we're gonna go full spoilers here. She actually turns out to go by another name in the series. She actually turns out to be one of the big bads, one of the villains of the series, and she was an absolute delight. I mean, she was. And to see the two Wednesdays, the past Wednesday and the current Wednesday, the cast, had a lot of younger actors and actresses, and I just want to point out a few. You had Piercy Hyde white as Xavier Thorpe. He nailed it. Hunter Doohan as Tyler Gilpin. Won't tell you what he does, but little Jekyll and Hyde thing going on with Mr. Tyler. You've got Jamie McShane as Sheriff Donovan Gilpin. Uh, One actress and everything that I had not heard of, but really caught my eye was Joy Sunday, who played Bianca Barkley. Now, I want to mention one other. Emma Myers, Enid Sinclair. This is a very talented young actress, and the 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 chemistry between her character and Wednesday, they're like oil and water, but eventually they turn into water and water because they actually Wednesday finally breaks out of her very restrained, very insular shell. And this series centers around Wednesday. It's the show's clearly near her. Jeff, you're thinking of Cousin It. Thing is the hand. Cousin It is the one that's all hair. You got your M's mixed up, my friend. But no geek points retracted. Thing is the hand. Cousin It is the one with all the hair. Just remember that for the future. And there's actually a nice little reference to Cousin It and everything. There's an ancestor who goes by the name of Iggy It. And he wears the round John Lennon glasses, kind of like, yours truly. And he has the hat and everything, the little bowler hat. And there's some nice little winks and nods to different members of the Adams clan. So, Ferris, I was kind of surprised myself, but you know what? Here's the thing. That was one of her early standout roles. That's one of the roles that everybody knows her for, and she was great as Wednesday. She absolutely was. Um, from what I understand, I think she did give some good comments on Jenna Ortega's performance. Now, granted, this is Wednesday as a teenage young lady. Yeah, Jeff, I know. From what I understand, there wasn't. I don't think there was any cattiness on the set or anything like that. I think honestly, a lot of people were very. I think I don't get the impression that there was any issues with Christina Ricci feeling like she was being supplanted or replaced by Jenna Ortega or anything. So I'll have to do some digging on that and everything. And I'll get back to you on Instagram. But getting into the show further, this is absolutely, like I mentioned, this is a teenage supernatural series. And you think kind of the same theme as the of Legacies, which was a spinoff of the Vampire Diaries and the originals. And there's been a whole lot of them, but I will say this: they built the universe in a way where it made sense and everything. Where you have what is known as the outcasts, and the outcasts are people are essentially was enjoying adult Wednesday Addams before they stomped on the idea. Honestly, Jenna Ortega as a teenage Wednesday Addams, because she's not an adult, Jeff, or anything. She's a teenager in this, and there have been a lot of these young adult supernatural series over the last several years, but the fact that they placed it in the Adams Family universe, if there is such a thing. Well, I mean, you could say everything from the early cartoons to the original series to the movies, both the live action and the animated movie, the CGI movies, and so on. My guess is Ferris probably not. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but I don't think they want to try and lean on too much nostalgia here. Now you have new actors playing some of the characters that we know well. Like I mentioned, you had Uncle Fester, you had Thing, you had a few appearances by Lurch here and there, but he never spoke. He was just kind of there. And then you had like 2 or 3 episodes out of 8 where Gomez and Morticia or anything were there for any length of time. Now, there was actually one episode, I think it was like episode 4 or 5. Oh, okay. Got you, Jeff. My bad. I didn't actually know that. So, okay, my mistake. Um, but honestly, Ferris, I'd rather they didn't. I can understand where people who are kind of nostalgic for the 90s films would kind of want that, but at the same time, I don't. Let this be its own thing. Kind of let it stand on its own, because the Adams Family has always been a property that's always been well received and everything, and has always had a very positive fan base. And hi, I'm a fan of the Adams Family. I mean, last Halloween I discussed the two live action movies, and they're great. They're not they stand on their own, and this series stands on its own. And I think without a whole lot of, like I said, it what I would call this is it's subtle nostalgia, not overt nostalgia. You have the snap. Hey, I actually did it. Maybe I could be an Adams after all. And that plays into part of the story, and so on. And you have little references to other characters, like I mentioned, and reference to Cousin It. You've got Fred Armisen, who plays Uncle Fester and everything, and I think it's like episode 7. And he was great. I thought he was a great. I think Fred Armisen was a good casting for Uncle Fester. I mean, obviously, I don't know if they had a prosthetic or they did shave his head, whichever the case may be. It looked natural, and he acted like Uncle Fester. And apparently, this is an Uncle Fester that's on the lam from a bank robbery or whatever. And he was quirky. He was everything you would expect from Uncle Fester, except for the difference is he actually shoots lightning. And Thing. Who knew you would be such a fan of a hand, of a literal walking hand? But they did do some things with the Thing that I did like. They added some stitches to him. They made him appear a little more. That's true too, Ferris. I mean, and you're gone. I'm gonna have to open my Twitch. Why is it every time I broadcast on Twitch, some idiot comes in here? I don't want your damn promotion. Freaking bot. Give me a minute, guys. Sorry, I gotta take care of a bot on Twitch. Freaking Twitch bots. Go take a flying leap off a cliff. You're a bot. Where is this ass hat? You're done. Bye. I love the fact that she can absolutely ban somebody on Twitch. It makes me very happy. Wait. Okay, that piece of housekeeping is taken care of. Let's get back to Wednesday. I get what you're saying, Ferris, but at the same time, I really don't want that. Just for the simple fact that I'd rather them just focus on the show than having a bunch of cameos. For Smallville, it worked. And they did have cameos here, but they had different actors and everything. Now, granted, yeah, you had Christina Ricci and everything as a reoccurring character, and it worked for the story. They were able to give her an interesting part to play and everything. But I don't want this series becoming reliant upon nostalgia for it to work because it works on its own. I mean, this series so far, they've already greenlit season 2, and I'm like, yep, I'm there for it. Give me season 2 of Wednesday because you've hooked me with this one. I mean, the premise is it's a supernatural murder mystery essentially, and y'all know me. I love a good mystery. I do. I absolutely love a good mystery, and Wednesday gives me that. Gives me that in spades. It is an absolute. It is absolute great. It is a well written story. It's quirky. It's sinister. It's at times serious. It's got a lot of heart to it, and you've got Jenna Ortega doing. You've got with her as Wednesday playing the cello. You've got her being a very unorthodox dancer. You've got her where she doesn't blink, and you've got Wednesday who knows kung fu, and she kicks some ass, and she does get her ass kicked on a couple of occasions. Wednesday is by no means a Mary Sue. She gets knocked down, she gets outsmarted, she gets outwitted, but she comes back like a dankin' cerebral killer, great white shark. She's just gonna keep coming after you until she gets you. And she's absolutely relentless. And that's one of the things I came to appreciate about the series as it went on is that this is a version of Wednesday that Hey Tim, good to see you, bud. I know. Well, dang it, you're doing a drive-by comment, Tim, man. Jeez, get your ass in here. Link's up there, go use it. Ferris, well, yeah, Ferris, same goes for you. If you're able. But, let's get back on track here. The story. Wednesday has been shipped off to this place called Nevermore Academy, which is a place that Morticia and Gomez both matriculated at. That's actually where they met and everything. And they decided that maybe it would be a good experience for Wednesday as well. Maybe help her come out of her shell. And they set her up with a psychiatrist and a more chipper individual you will have never met, played by Ricky Lindholm. Play Lind Valerie Kimbot. Some very unorthodox names in this show. Valerie Kimbot. Paging Dr. Kimbot. Paging Dr. Kimbot. Just very, very unorthodox. A very delightful character who unfortunately meets a very painful end. I won't say how she meets her end because I don't want to necessarily spoil the entire show for you all. But unfortunately, Dr. Kim doesn't make it to the finale. Nor unfortunately does, and I want to talk about Gwendolyn Christie's character, headmistress Larissa Weems, who actually was a classmate of Morticia when her and Gomez were also students at Nevermore. Gwendolyn Christie's performance in this series or anything, unfortunately, she won't be back. You finally get to see Gwendolyn Christie be in a good series that hopefully won't crash and burn as epically as Game of Thrones did. Hopefully, will not crash and burn as badly as Game of Thrones did. And Gwendolyn Christie is a wonderful actress. You know, it kills me to say this to a degree, but okay, it doesn't kill me to say this. But Gwendolyn Christie was royally screwed in the sequel trilogy as Captain Phasma. She was. Gwendolyn Christie was screwed over. That's one of the reasons why I hate this jackass. She was screwed over by Ryan Johnson. No talent. Pissy hack.
Oh, look at me. I'm Ryan Johnson. I can write murder mysteries, and here, I'm going to make the most divisive Star Wars movie ever.
Congratulations, jackass. Not to mention you screwed over Gwendolyn Christie, who's got more talent in her pinky than you've got in that massive bad ideas that you call a brain.
Oh, look at me. I'm Ryan Johnson. I directed a mediocre sci-fi movie starring Bruce Willis called Looper.
Up your ass. But I digress. I digress a great deal. Headmistress Weems, played by Gwendolyn Christie, she herself is also an outcast. Now, okay, I want to kind of digress for just a minute. What they have done with the Addams Family world of the Addams Family is they've introduced the idea of outcasts. Now, what specifically is an outcast? Outcasts are supernatural beings because you have vampires, which is a staple for a supernatural universe. You have werewolves. One in particular played Wednesday's roommate, Enid Sinclair, played by Emma Myers. Very good young actress. Did a great job on this show. You've got sirens, which is the sirens from the Odyssey, from Greek myth and everything. And you've got shapeshifters, and Gwendolyn Christie's character, Headmistress Weems, is in fact a shapeshifter. And the effects for this show are very on point, very well done. Everything, not by any means sketchy to any degree, and so on. And you've got Wednesday, who is a psychic. And I think because in this universe, you have outcasts where their abilities are more extreme, like vampires, werewolves, sirens, and so on, where their appearance may be different. There even are what they call no faces, or what I would call no faces, and everything, because you see a family of no faces in one episode. Um, you see a family of werewolves, which is actually Enid's family, and so on. And you do eventually, in the season one finale, you see Enid finally wolf out, and it's not just because you she wolves out. It's everything. It is during a full moon. It is during a full moon, but it's at a crucial moment in the story. It isn't done just, oh, hey, Enid's finally go wolf out. No, it's done. It's framed well. And that's one of the things I really appreciate about the show is how well it's written and how well it's directed because, well, one of the directors is none other than Tim Burton. We got Tim back! And he's awesome. He did a great job. All hail Tim Burton. He's doing something that doesn't have swirls and everything. And I will say this also, I think in terms of the production. I did not know there were so many ways that you could alternate the color scheme of black and white. Because what's the two colors that are synonymous with the Adamses? Black and white, predominantly. But particularly for Wednesday, where are the two colors synonymous with her? Black and white. And somehow they come up with some really creative costume designs for Wednesday, aside from her Nevermore uniform, just her everyday clothes. Who knew? I mean, whoever came up with that wardrobe for Wednesday, showing the character, they earned their fee. They earned their fee in spades. But in this series, Wednesday is a psychic, just like her mother. Apparently, Morticia is also a psychic. Now, does that addition of a paranormal ability bother me? No, because as much as the Adamses are connected to the occult, it doesn't bother me that Wednesday and Morticia are both psychics, and it does tie back to through their ancestry. So that particular addition of an ability does not bother me. And I've said that a few times because for the universe, it would make sense that such a thing could happen. So I do want to say hello to the chat. Price is Right Reviews. Price, it is good to see you. What's up with me? Talking about Chris Rock, which I've already done. Now I'm talking about Wednesday. That's the series, not the day. And it's this, you know, as I mentioned, there have been seemingly a glut of young adult paranormal series, but this for me was a standout because one is connected to a universe that it's connected to a franchise that I love. But, and I know I've made that point a few times now, but also, this honestly is some of the best writing. And I'm going to put this series next to another series I reviewed a few months ago. Wednesday is just as good. Granted, it's a different genre. Yes, it is absolutely a different genre. Yes, it does have a different tone because it does have humor in it and everything. But the Addams family does lend itself to more humor. But in terms of just the writing and the production, the set design, the costume design, special effects, all of that. Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. The Addams, yeah, and Price. I talked about those back last Halloween, so I think you were actually there for that stream. or at least you're in the chat for that stream. And I will tell you this price or anything because you weren't here when I made this comment. Uncle Fester does make an appearance. It's in episode 7. Now, he's not in the entire episode, but he does have a decent part in episode 7, played by Fred Armisen. And he is just as quirky, just as charming, just as goofy as Christopher Lloyd, who played Uncle Fester in the live action Barry Sonnenfeld films. But as I was saying, to my point, Wednesday is just as good, in my opinion, as Andor. And you all know how much I enjoyed Andor. Granted, I have not had a chance to watch a lot of Netflix series, but I've only watched a few all the way through, and Wednesday is one of them. All the things I listed off that are positives for Wednesday, put them on the same level as Andor. This was a well acted, well written, well produced, well directed, and just very entertaining show. And it is, I honestly think, a standout in the particular genre of young adult supernatural dramas. This is by no means obviously it's not a one-off because they've already greenlit a season 2. I am thrilled beyond all reason the fact that there is going to be a season 2 of Wednesday. Now, as to Jenna Ortega herself as Wednesday, and I'll touch upon some of the other characters and everything, particularly Enid Sinclair, her roommate. I've watched some interviews. Before I go into my dissection of Jenna Ortega's performance, would Raven and Wednesday get along? Yes. I think they would be able to coexist, but they probably would be like, you stay away. No, you stay away. No, you stay away. No, don't touch me. No, you don't touch me. Okay, I won't touch you, but don't touch me. Okay, I won't touch you, but you don't touch me either. Okay, I won't. Okay, fine. Yeah, to answer your question, I hopefully that answers your question, Price. But anyway, as I was saying, to my dissection of Jenna Ortega as Wednesday Addams. Now, we are all familiar with the actress who played Wednesday Addams in the old black and white series. Of course, we are all far more familiar with Christina Ricci as Wednesday Addams in the 2 live action films. And Christina Ricci was wonderful. She did a great job. She captured the spirit of who Wednesday Addams is. She's a bit of a cynic. She's very standoffish. She doesn't like to be touched. She's a serial killer in the training, although in this particular case, she's a detective in training and an author in training who also has psychic ability. She can see the future and the past. What Jenna Ortega did is she took, I think, what we know best about Wednesday, encapsulated it, and also in a way made it her own. And I applaud her for that because there have been 2 actresses already, numerous voice actresses who have portrayed Wednesday throughout the years. She took this character and made it her own. But she still kept the parts that we know best about Wednesday. And that's no easy feat. Because when you have someone who's almost seemingly as emotionally stunted or emotionally closed off as Wednesday is, it's hard to portray that character in a different light. And yet she was able to do so because throughout the course of the series or the season, Wednesday does evolve. She does grow. She does change. She does become more than the sum of her parts because she does start to care about people. She starts to care about Enid, her roommate. She starts to care about particular people that she has grown an attachment to. That's the thing about Wednesday. It is hard for her to connect with people because of her personality. I would say if you were going to put Wednesday Adams on the introvert extrovert spectrum, of personality, an extreme introvert, as far to the farthest end of that spectrum that you can get. Wednesday would kill Harley. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, Price. Wednesday would kill Harley. She would. She would absolutely do something horrific to Harley. She would not tolerate Harley for 2 seconds. She would take a ball peen hammer and smack Harley in the head with it, and probably that'd be the end of Harley. But knowing introverts myself, and I don't think she'll fuss at me for saying this. Madam Ambassador is a bit of an introvert herself, not to the extreme that Wednesday is. But playing an introverted character is not easy because they do tend to be a bit more emotionally reserved. Now, that's not true of all introverts. There are some introverts that are very emotional, or, well, emotional to the normal degree, or maybe a bit over. But Wednesday is very, very closed off. She doesn't express her emotions next to ever. You rarely ever see her smile. I can comment on one time or maybe one episode of the entire series where Wednesday actually smiles. And that's when Uncle Fester shows up. That is the only time that Wednesday throughout the entire series ever cracks a smile, and I mean a broad one. She's legitimately happy to see her uncle. She did not want to go to Nevermore. But Gomez and Morticia were like, "You're going. That's the end of it. You're going." And Jenna Ortega's ability to take a character that's as emotionally closed off, or seemingly emotionally closed off, as Wednesday Adams, and make that character work is a credit to her talent as an actress. Not only that, but is a credit to the writers and to the directors to bring out that performance. And I cannot wait to see how Wednesday grows and changes in season 2. I really can't. Because as the series goes along, and I don't feel like I'm necessarily going to be spoiling anything for you all, Wednesday does come out of her shell. She does open up to people, particularly her roommate, Enid Sinclair. Now, as I mentioned, Enid is a werewolf, and her whole family is werewolves. And I think her mother, her father, her brothers, and I think she has another sister. But Emma Myers and everything, Enid is very peppy. She is very outgoing. She is an extrovert. I'm an extrovert. I recognize one of my own. She is a person. She is a hugger. I'm a hugger, at least to those I'm familiar with. And throughout, and now this is one part of the series I appreciated because earlier on Wednesday, when every time Enid went to hug Wednesday, Wednesday recoiled every single time, and Enid eventually got to the point where she's like, "Okay, hugging's not our thing. We're friends that don't hug." And but in the last episode, and everything, right before they all leave and everything, Nevermore, and everything after the big finale to the major crisis and everything, Enid hugs Wednesday, and Wednesday lets her. But more important than that, Wednesday returns the hug. After 8 or 7.25 or 7.5 episodes, Wednesday finally hugs Enid because they both survived. And because Enid finally wolfed out. And as I mentioned, now I will say this, Enid's werewolf form and her transformation, perfect. And here's the thing that I really appreciate about everything. Now, Enid's the type of girl, she has, I think, bleach blonde, or not, well, she has, I think, maybe natural blonde hair, but she's rainbow dyed the bottom. When she wolfs out, her mane, the hair on her head, keeps that tint. I loved that and everything. The fact that she doesn't lose that and everything part of herself and everything when she transforms into a werewolf. And the other thing I love is throughout the course of the season, she'll get really excited or she'll get really nervous, and her nails or her claws will not will expand out, and she paints her fingernails, and her fingernails keep that appearance of the fingernail polish on her claws. That was honestly a great subtle effect. And the relationship, now, for those of you who may be wondering, did they make Enid and Wednesday gay? No, they didn't. It's a purely hetero female relation, a friendship. Nothing more than that. There's not even a hint of anything like that throughout the entire show. Not that that would necessarily bother me, but for those of you who are like, "Well, I don't want to watch Wednesday if there's a bunch of gay," I don't care if there's gay characters in a show. I'm by no means homophobic. I mean, you all know I'm a Christian. Do I? Can I? Can I condone that lifestyle? No, I can't. But am I going to condemn him or hate him? No, I'm not. But that's entirely beside the point because I'm sure there are going to be some dishonest commentators out there on the YouTube or on in social media are going to go like, they made Wednesday gay. No, they did not make Wednesday gay. Her and her roommate, who has become her close friend, hugged. And that's the extent of it. So for anyone who wants to try and put that argument out there, you're a bold-faced liar. And if you want to come at me, come at me. Not the first troll I will have dealt with. And I have nuked trolls for a living. Metaphorically speaking. But, sorry about the bit of a rant there, guys. I keep forgetting the actress's name. And I apologize for that. Emma Myers, Enid Sinclair. Like I said, Enid is an extrovert to the nth as much as Wednesday is an introvert to the nth degree. Enid is the polar opposite. Now, one of the things I love about everything throughout the series, Wednesday and Enid share this very beautiful. They share this room that has this very beautiful round stained glass window, and Wednesday proceeds to scrape off every piece of color on her side of that window, but she leaves Enid's side alone. So while Enid's side of the room is a wash of color, is a rainbow of color, Wednesday's side is absent of any color. It's all dark. It's all monotone. It's all black and gray and white, and that's it. And at one point during the series, Enid gets tired of Wednesday. She does. She's like, we could have died during this whole thing, and you don't seem to care. So she's like, you know what? I'm out. I'm done. It's been okay for me to move in with another roommate, and I'll come get the rest of my stuff later. And as hard as Wednesday tries to deny it, she misses Enid. And Emma Meyer's performance as Enid Sinclair, or just simply as Enid, she does a very good job because this is obviously an original character. I think this isn't somebody who's appeared in the Addams Family world before. But I will say this. Speaking of personal life, I have and I had a friend just like Enid. I had a friend, unfortunately, I've lost track of. And he was outgoing, he was a good friend. But I will say this. And this is actually someone I regard as a brother. Someone that I grew up with. Someone that I went to high school with and who I've reconnected with. Zach, if you want to talk either about Chris Rock or Wednesday, if you've watched either one, if you haven't watched either one, then don't. But Zach, if you've watched either Wednesday or Chris Rock, I'm talking about Wednesday track. We can discuss Chris Rock or anything. Link is up there. I don't put it up there just for the hell of it. But I have a friend who is very much like Enid. Granted, he's a guy, not a girl, and definitely not a werewolf. At least as far as I know. That's how he disappears for days. I'm joking. He's not a werewolf. But, moving on to the other cast members, like I mentioned, Luis Guzman and Catherine Zeta-Jones as Gomez and Morticia, or Goes and Mort. Okay. See you back. So, and for those who are wondering, who's the Last Outlaws? That's my good friend, my fellow YouTuber, Zach Leary. So, Last Outlaws is Zach's political channel, and he's done some really good work over there. So, if you want some good, insightful political commentary with just a dash of humor, go check out Last Outlaws. You will not by no means be bored. But compare it is actually unfair to compare Raul Julia and Angelica Houston's performance to Luis Guzman and Catherine Zeta-Jones' performances as Gomez and Morticia. Because while the dynamic of the characters is similar, their performances are completely different because the characters are portrayed in a somewhat different light. And that's something I really appreciated. And everything. And like I mentioned earlier on, I know a lot of people were fussing, well, Gomez doesn't look like Gomez. Yeah, he does. Just because he doesn't look like Raul Julia, he does look like the original design, and Gomez was short and heavyset. He wasn't always thin. and tall. But in terms of the story, because I really don't want to spoil the story, especially for those of you who watch this. But I will say that this series is very entertaining, and if you want a good series that you can just kick back and relax and enjoy a show with good writing and good performances, Wednesday has got that in spades. Has absolutely, absolutely got that in spades. And there will be times where you'll be sitting on the edge of your seat because at one point it looks like Wednesday's about to buy it. She's about to go bye bye. But she doesn't. I'll say that much. I'll say that much. She doesn't. She doesn't. She doesn't go to the great beyond. Now, as for the production design, the town of Jericho and everything, that's the town that Nevermore Academy is located in. There is a there is an amusement park, if you want to call it that, called Pilgrim World. No, I'm not joking. There is an amusement park called Pilgrim World. And you might think, who would want to go to a place like Pilgrim World? People who love that enjoy that sort of thing. And there is a scene during what is called Outreach Day, where Wednesday is dressed up a pilgrim woman, and she's talking to a group of German tourists. And one of the main things that they sell at, at Pilgrim World is fudge. Fudge was not introduced to the Americas until well after the Pilgrims were no longer a thing. And you hear Wednesday to these tourists telling these people about the history of fudge and why they should not buy it. It is the funniest damn thing. So, but with no great amount of ado, but a whole lot. Give a warm welcome to a regular here. You know him, you love him. I call him my friend because he is a fellow ambassador through and through, Mr. Zach Leary.
What up?
Hey, Zach.
We can start,
Hey,
man,
buddy.
wherever you want. So Wednesday Adams, man, what's your take on this whole thing?
Have you not heard?
I haven't heard your
Well, I know
take
you
on it.
came in
No.
and everything, but
Well, just give
I
me
loved it.
just give. Okay, gotcha.
Give you the short. I did. I absolutely loved, and I am thrilled beyond reason for season 2. So,
Yeah, man, I enjoyed it myself.
I have you
I
watched
I'm
it? Oh, okay.
yes,
You okay?
yes.
Good. I wasn't sure if you'd watched it. You didn't say. Okay. Well, then, your thoughts or anything?
Okay, so I think we might be getting like a 2-3 second delay. Let me know if there's a problem. Maybe I'll rejoin. You can hear me fine, right?
No, you're. There's no delay on my end. I can hear you just.
Okay. All right. So my take on Wednesday Adams. I mean, pretty good, man. Here's the key to this show is you've got a great
Mhm.
lead actress. That's the key. That's really is the key. So they went and they kind of reinvented a couple of the characters. The kind of the only controversies really was kind of reworking the Gomez character. That was pretty much the
And
one of
Morticia.
yeah, and that too, but was reworking a couple of the key family members. But I will tell you
Mhm.
though that when it comes to Luis Guzman, I thought he was fucking hilarious. the moment I was sold on him is when he was at the jail and she goes to visit him and she's like, my father has a couple of tells, like a poker tell, and they show his creepy little face smiling and nodding. I was like, this guy's hilarious. So I was sold on him, and the dude was fucking hilarious. The only thing, man, is I even liked the sorcerer they brought back from the dead. I was like, okay,
Oh, Joseph Crackstone.
kind of a cool bad guy, good, cool look to him. He's got the staff, all right. And then, but the thing is, I could have done, and this is not a big thing. It was okay the way they did it, but I could have done with a little bit of a better look for the CGI gargoyle thing that the boyfriend turned into. It's like, it looks a little goofy to me, but that would probably be my only.
Oh, you mean the
thing.
hide?
But, yeah, exactly.
You mean the hide? Honestly, I liked the design of the hide and everything. It's honestly something that, I mean, granted, we've all heard of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but it was never presented as a paranormal thing. It was more of a science fiction type thing because the Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is, in essence, a science fiction story and everything because it
Yeah,
deals with science.
but let me
So,
ask you this. So let's say executive producer ambassador. Okay. Let's say I
mm,
go to you at the production meeting and you get to make the call. So we can do the CGI monster.
mm.
Here's our picture, or we can do it practical and kind of paint him a little pale and kind of go American Werewolf in London style and maybe do some practical extensions on the fingers and kind of go like that. Which would you pick?
Honestly, I would go with the CGI
Okay.
because that's everything else, all the other effects that they have done. Grant, there isn't a whole lot of CG work in this show. Everything. It's a lot of makeup effects and so on, and contact lenses and everything. The only real big visual effects that we see are the hide transforming,
Yeah.
Gwendolyn Christie's character, Headmistress
Oh,
Weems.
wasn't she fucking amazing too, huh?
Oh, I talked about that and everything
Yeah, she
before
was
you
good.
came in. Yeah, she
And
was.
and you know what?
Her
Let me
transformation.
brief little thing on
Hmm.
her. Finally playing kind of a
Hmm.
feminine part for once. Still badass, but a little more feminine for her. She said in an interview she liked the makeup on her. It was a kind of a departure. She usually plays like these gruff military people.
I went to a bit of a rant, and I won't repeat the rant here, but she was better written than this. She was better written than this than she was in the latter part of Game of Thrones, and most definitely better written by either Abrams or that jackass Ryan Johnson. She
Yeah,
was
she was
her
practically a
like
voiceover.
made me make. She is such a good actress, and she got completely screwed over. And here we finally get to see her play in something good. The only thing that sucks is that her character dies. I'm not gonna say how or by
Yeah.
who she dies, but the fact that that her character dies, because I was like, oh man, again. I like this character. I mean, yeah, she's a bit of a hard ass, but you know, as she said, everything I'm doing for the good of Nevermore and its students. And you
She
gotta
had
respect that
style, man.
sort of.
Yeah, her character was badass. I don't care what she that was like a savage.
Yeah.
She had some class, some elegance, but she was kind of intimidating too. So you had kind of all the right pieces. Great authority type,
Well,
archetype character.
well, not to mention, just naturally, Gwendolyn Christie is very tall, but wearing heels the majority of the time makes her really tower over everybody else. And I love that. I loved that aesthetic and everything because it presents an extra level to her character. Yes, she is a position of authority in terms of her position, but also physically she's in a position of authority because she is larger than Wednesday. She is larger than practically everyone else that she interacts with in the show.
Yes. And a
I mean,
powerful
except for
creature.
maybe
A powerful
a
creature as well.
shapeshifter.
Yeah.
Yeah, a shapeshifter.
She
Now,
ain't to be trifled with.
because no, she isn't. Now, let me ask you, Zach, how do you feel about them introducing paranormal into the Adams family universe, for lack of a better term?
Perfect fit. It's a perfect fit. You've got
I thought so
it
too.
was the whole yeah, well the whole thing was put together really well. And let me say this too. This I think you'll agree with too. We're on the same page on this one. This thing was
Mhm.
badass. It was a great watch, entertaining.
It was.
And by the way, it
It
was
was.
light.
Mm.
It was light. It was easy to consume. It wasn't this big thick experience. It was nice and
Mhm.
light and enjoyable, interesting. The best Tim Burton product in fucking years.
In a while. Well,
Yeah.
not only this, I don't know if you probably know this, the production company that did this, or the producers that did this, also did Smallville.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, that checks out.
Did you? Well, I forget. I forget. It was Ferris actually who brought it up and everything a little while ago. Um, yeah, it was the production company that did Smallville and everything, or at least the producers who did Smallville that produced. Well, actually, it was the creator and producers and everything of Smallville that did that are working on Wednesday, and it's they've really hit upon something here because the Addams Family is something that has existed in the pop culture conscience or consciousness for a long time. I mean, going all the way back to the original cartoons, the old black and white series, the various films, both live action and the animated films, and now you got this. And so on. Now, let me ask you, Zach, how did you feel? What did you think of Fred Armisen's portrayal of Uncle Fester?
I met him on the set of Portlandia. Sweetest guy of all time. You just
Uh
a
huh.
hilarious dude. When we were doing, so I wasn't any real person involved in that, but I was there, and
Yeah.
everybody on the set would just die laughing and ruin takes. He was so fucking funny. Like nobody could not laugh. The directors would laugh, everybody would laugh, and just ruin the scenes. So the dude was just
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Him in this, I think, can I? I'm going to be honest here. I think is maybe slightly off. I'm not totally convinced. Yeah, it just I don't know. He's not creepy enough, man. I would say maybe that what it is.
You could see that. I mean, for me,
Like
I
Chris
mean, Christopher
Lloyd
Lloyd will
is the
always
is
be
the
one of the
original,
best.
but he's crazy looking. Like he's
Well,
got the big
the
eyes.
well, and not only that, the original actor who played the original Uncle Fester in the old black and white series, he's iconic. I can't remember the name of the actor off the top of my head, but him and Christopher Lloyd, they are two of the best Uncle Festers ever. For the series and anything, granted, he only makes one appearance and everything, but I think his performance was not as far off from what we've seen previously. He's I do like the fact that they make him a criminal on the run, but he's not like he hasn't killed anybody. He just does a bank robbery
Yeah,
and
it wasn't
everything,
bad.
or rather,
I didn't
yeah,
dislike him, but it just I
hmm
don't know. That one to me was slightly a little off for me. But like not in a crazy way. It's just I don't know. Something about that one did not kind of land as strongly for me as some of the others.
yeah. Now, thing, who knew you would be such of a you would be rooting so hard for a hand? Now, don't get me wrong. I loved Thing in the movies. I loved Thing in the animated show. I loved Thing in the old black and white series. But Thing in Wednesday, he gives you the feels, especially when he gets hurt. And that for me was like, I'm actually having an emotion over a hand.
Well, he's the MVP kind of. I mean, he's like the dog. He's always been like the family dog, but in this one, he's so involved in some of the episodes. You know, he's like the sidekick, basically. So yeah, he was
Yeah,
fun, man. He was a fun little character. He had a personality. You know, he was funny. Yeah, that would have sucked if he had died. I kind of knew they wouldn't let that happen. He's gold. You can't get rid of him.
you you can't kill Thing like you can't kill Grogu, because then you'll have people rioting. You will
Well,
literally have
I'm
people rioting. They killed
as
Thing.
as a writer, I'm an evil enough bastard to kill
Mhm.
Grogu. Well, listen, what would happen? We would just have. I mean, just imagine all the teary-eyed reaction videos. You know,
I'd be
Grogu
one of them.
sacrifices. He sacrifices himself for Din Djarin, like sacrifices himself.
Yeah, that I. But still,
By the way,
ugh,
Mando
no.
off to an interesting start. Kind of a variety episode there. Um, we don't have to go too
Yeah,
far off. I know you covered it, but if you want to, we can. But the Chris Rock thing, man, that's
well,
like a
I'd like to hear.
touch. Yeah, you want to do Mando?
That's where I actually started. That's actually where I started and everything tonight. But yeah, I'd like to hear your thoughts on Chris Rock's the selective outrage.
Yeah,
So,
it's not
Zach, the
strong
floor is
enough.
all yours.
That's what I would say. It's not strong enough. It's a little too late. It seems like to me it seemed weak. He's operating from a position of weakness. He should have came out the next day and pressed charges and settled Will out of court for 85 million. He's played this thing totally wrong, and whoever's been in his corner advising him has failed him. Chris Rock has done a terrible job, and the jokes were not even that good. I would have came out and attacked him relentlessly after that. I would have called upon the governors to revoke his Oscar, but Chris Rock made a tactical error. He was spineless about this. He was a little bit too. And it's not that forgiveness is bad. Forgiveness is good. You know, that's a biblical trait, right? You and I know that. It's a good thing. You should forgive people, but not publicly. In publicly, this is a game of celebrity. This is a game of reputation. So he lost that game. So I would leave it there. You know, I'd leave it there. I think he failed. I think he played this wrong. The jokes were not strong enough.
I enjoyed the special. I enjoyed it for what it was. I mean, in terms of, so I've heard similar commentary from other YouTubers as well, that other people feel that maybe he should have been, in terms of when it actually happened. It caught him flat-footed, as I think it would anybody. So I do in part agree with your assessment, but at the same time, I don't like ardent, but I think he was trying to show a little more, at least in public, class and grace than what was shown to him,
Well, he
which I
didn't do
don't think
that.
was necessarily entirely a bad.
He showed nothing. Like he showed nothing. He avoided the topic. He was afraid of confrontation. I think he played it wrong. The special to me was lackluster as well. When it comes to these old school comedians who went into movies, they've all lost a step. Eddie Murphy is
Mm,
is a terrible stand up right now because he hasn't been in the clubs in 15 years. Same with Chris Rock. These are guys who have
yeah,
lost a step to a certain degree. They're riding on their own coattails.
yeah. I mean, what you're saying doesn't entirely change my perspective of the special. I did enjoy it, but I honestly going into this, I did expect more in terms of him going after Wilson in that whole scenario.
Well,
What he
but
did,
see
I
here.
think, was very biting, but I think it could have.
Yeah, go
Just let
ahead.
me get
Sorry,
this
man.
out real quick.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's all right. It's all right. Do I think he could have been more biting? Because I think he could have gone after it harder, been a little more vicious in his routine. Yeah, I do. I do, and I wasn't necessarily. I'm not necessarily like retroactively editing my initial response, but I did feel that maybe he should have gone a little bit harder on the whole situation with Will Smith. Now, I did say this myself. Will Smith is in a mess right now in terms of his personal life and his public life. And I'll say it here to you, being you are here. An open marriage or an open relationship is by no means productive or healthy. And quite frankly, I think that's where Will Smith is at. I think he's in a very negative marriage. But I'll leave it at that. So go ahead, Zach.
Well, the reality of the situation, I think, is a little bit hard to pin down. I mean, there are so many rumors about him that you know
Yeah.
there are multiple possibilities out there as to what that guy's really going through. But which depending on which one happens to be true, you've got a totally different
Mm-hmm.
backstory here. But if I was Chris Rock, and I'm not even a stand-up comedian, I've never written a joke. I could have come up with something
Mm-hmm.
better than his Will Smith response. And here's my opening line. I just off the top of my head. This is so Chris Rock's been in the business 40 years. So I would have gone up there. I would have said G.I. Jane, and I would have left that there for a minute. That'd be my opening line. G.I. Jane. Let them take it in. Y'all want to hear the one I didn't tell. You all want to hear the ones I didn't say. And then what you just say brand new jokes, right? And you just lay into like right off the bat, right straight from the top, lay into her and him, and just go. You would have to go
Mm-hmm.
like think of this. Well, let me just put it to you this way: what would Donald Trump do?
Oh boy. You know, Donald Trump isn't necessarily a professional comedian, though he does seem to have a bit more of a he does seem to have a more of a comedic bone than most politicians, even though he's not necessarily a politician, quote unquote.
Here's another joke for you.
But
Will
I
Smith is playing Will Smith is playing a slave in Emancipation. He knows something. He knows a little something about that. Just ask Jada. Is that his wife? Right, Jada? You like that? That's not bad. Hey, maybe I should get into
Jada
comedy.
Pinkett Smith.
Yeah, let me try it again. Will Smith is playing in a slave movie called Emancipation. He knows a little something about that. Just ask Jada. See, you got to go kind of crazy. You can't just come out with the mild jokes. You got to annihilate them. If he waits, he waited a year and dropped kind of a milk toast standard run of the mill response. He Ambassador, he had an opportunity to be culturally relevant again, and he didn't take it.
If it was me, okay, I'm gonna put myself in a hypothetical situation because I don't want to use a real life one. And okay, if I was a stand-up comedian, I was doing a bit about myself and my ex-wife. Here's some of the commentary I would give, and this might be a bit cathartic. when I met my ex, she told me she had been married 3 times before. My first was blam, and that would be the sound
Get,
of the door
look.
as I ran away screaming.
It's not bad.
My ex-wife said, my ex-wife told me, I've got 3 kids, all girls.
I got one. Can I tell a joke?
Excuse?
Oh, you still going?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay. I'm going to give you an
Yeah, Zach, please.
Al Pacino joke.
Oh,
A skeleton walks into a bar and he asks for a beer and a mop.
A beer and a what?
And a mop.
Beer and a mop. I feel like I.
So I'll send you the clip later. This is a joke. This is a joke that Al Pacino would tell Johnny Depp on the set over and over again. Johnny Depp never got it. He's like, I don't get it. A skeleton walks into a bar and he asks for a beer and a mop. It's okay though. We can move on. We can move on. We're listen, man.
A bar, ask for a beer.
It's okay. We'll move on from that. I'll tell
because
you later.
If the skeleton drinks the skeleton drinks the beer's gonna go over the floor because he has internal organs or skin or muscles. So
yes,
how did? Dang, it took me a minute. But geez, come on, Johnny Depp, you're supposed to be quicker than that.
Well, it stumped him for months. He never got it.
Think about a skeleton and ask for beer and a mop. Why would the skeleton ask for the mop? Because this beer's gonna go all over the floor after it drinks it.
I have so many bad jokes, but it would just destroy. I mean, my jokes are so bad.
Zach is. You had bad jokes, but my uncle, may he be resting in peace. He had some doozies.
Why did the woman why did the woman knock on the door of the fridge?
I don't know why.
She wasn't sure if there was a salad dressing. Sorry, everybody. I'm sorry.
I got you. I got to
retire.
No,
it's okay.
My uncle told some doozies, and he was a retired police officer who worked in security, I think, for many years. He had some doozies. I'll tell a couple here, and I don't care if they offend anybody either, because these were my uncle's jokes, and he won't get offended by folks. There's the door. One joke he told me. A blonde is out in the middle of a cornfield in a rowboat. The blonde is driving down the road and sees the other blonde in the rowboat, pulls her car over, walks out to the blonde in the rowboat and says, "What are you doing?" The blonde in the rowboat says, "I'm rowing back to shore. What else do you think I'm doing?" The blonde from the car goes, "Okay," walks back over to her car, gets in, and drives off.
Oh my God. That was even more complicated. Oh God. I'm not going to ask you to explain your joke. I'll think about that. I'll think about that one.
It's a
Am I
dumb
missing it?
Zach. It's a dumb blonde joke. You are missing it so badly that the blonde in the rowboat is shaking her head. The blonde in a blonde is sitting in a rowboat in the middle of a cornfield. Another blonde in a car driving down the road sees the blonde in the rowboat and pulls over to the side of the road, walks out into the middle of the cornfield and says, "What are you doing?" The blonde in the rowboat says, "I'm rowing back to shore." The blonde from the car goes, "Okay." Walks back to her car and drives off.
If we continue down this road, we're going to permanently close down the ambassadorial wing. I think we got
Why?
these jokes are
Why?
too bad.
With a blonde joke?
Somebody might
What?
actually like have a medical issue from these jokes. I think let's move on. Okay.
Okay. One more. No, one. This was
Oh,
also from my uncle. And yes, this is a semi-religious joke, but it is a doozy. And yes, even though I am joining the Catholic Church, I still find the humor in this joke. Three nuns living in a convent are wanting to redecorate their room. They all agree what they want to do, so they go to the Mother Superior. They were like, "Well, we have to go to the Mother Superior and get permission to redecorate our room." So they go to the Mother Superior, and the Mother Superior is, "Yes, absolutely, you may redecorate your room, so long as you do not get any paint on your habits or get them dirty." So they all pick a day when they're going to be free, and they disrobe, put their habits away, and they start redecorating. On this particular day, there's a knock at the door of their room, and they all go, "Who is it?" "Blind man." They all go, "It's a blind man. We'll be okay." So one of the nuns goes and opens the door, and the man says, "Nice boobs. Where do you want the blinds hung?"
okay.
I'm hoping you don't,
I'm just retarded. You know what?
because all
you know
I'll
what? I
type it
think
in the
we.
private chat. So
Oh God.
come on. Hang on. You're stupid.
See, I've got another joke lined up, but I'm not going to do it.
Come
I
on.
can't. We can't continue. We can't continue these jokes.
Check the private chat, Zach. I'm
Oh,
sure everybody else
there
in the
you
public
go.
chat gets it.
Don't be so sure, Ambassador.
Anyway, getting back to
Okay.
the
Yes.
content. Getting back to the content of the night. I mean,
You want to jump on to Mando?
we
You
can talk
said you
about
covered
Mando
it
for a
a
few
little
minutes,
bit.
sure.
Okay. Well, what were you
not
going
tonight.
to?
I covered it.
Okay. We'll take it wherever you want, man. What else you got?
Well, I talked about Mando the other afternoon and everything. I think it was like Monday afternoon. No, I can't remember. I'll have to look back. It's been a few days ago and everything. I talked about Mandalorian episode 1, It was solid. It wasn't, I didn't expect anything big or bombastic or over the top, like some big reveal or anything. It was a good setup for the season. It was. And, in terms of the performances, they're all good. In terms of the, you know, Grogu was adorable and funny as he normally is. And, you had an appearance by Carl Weathers as High Magistrate Grief Karga now, and it was a good, solid, enjoyable episode. Although Bo Katan just is like, you used to have the dark saber, so nobody wanted to follow me no more. So go take it and wave it around. They'll follow you, but I'm just gonna sit here and sulk.
Yeah,
If your
I mean,
sister was still alive, if her sister Satine was still alive, she'd be like, "Bitch, what's wrong with you? Get up off your ass and go get your crew back."
yeah, it's concerning that you show up and she's sitting in a chair doing nothing. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? It's like a funny line for him would have been, "Have you been sitting in that chair all day?" You know, it's like, what is she doing? Have you ever seen such a pitiful character in Star Wars? I don't know if I have. She just has given up. Have we ever had a character in Star Wars just say, I give up"? It's like, I can't recall something like that. She just fucking gave up.
Yes, you can.
Who? Luke?
You're really gonna make me.
Well, I don't count that.
Yeah.
Fuck it. I mean, I don't care. I mean,
Granted.
Well, listen,
Yeah.
man. Mark Hamill didn't sign off on that character, so to me, that says all you need to know.
No. But anyway, yeah. But everybody's been down that road, and there's no point going back down it.
She is not fit for leadership based on. Well, what do you think of this? She's not fit to lead Mandalore based on that scene.
No, she isn't. Mando Din Djarin's got more backbone. He's going on a quest of redemption. She's like, I'm just gonna sit here and look pathetic in my fancy armor. You don't deserve that.
She didn't even have a guard.
Your sister.
She didn't even have one soldier.
Nothing. Nobody. Everybody just up and left her. I mean, those Mandalorians at the beginning of the episode and everything, when they were fighting that big crocodile creature, still more bone. They were completely and totally outgunned, but they still kept fighting. She's just sitting there all pathetic.
That's ridiculous. So have you seen?
Sister Teen was a pacifist.
Have you seen Django?
Was a pacifist, and her sister showed more backbone.
Have you seen the movie Django?
I was ranting.
Have you seen Django?
Django Unchained? Django Unchained. I've seen clips of it. I'm all the way.
Okay. Have you seen the bag scene? Have you seen the baghead scene? This is going to be a point for Mando. Have you seen the baghead scene?
I can't say that I have.
Okay, in Django, there's a scene where the clan. Okay, in Django, there's a scene where the clan has bags, but the holes in the bags have been cut all fucked up. One guy's spitting out his eye hole, spitting dip. It's like, nobody can fucking see in these bags. Okay. Well, I think everybody thought the bags was a good idea, but not point fingers. It could have been done better. It's a very funny scene. The bags are all fucked up. They can't see. I can't see. Well, that doesn't fucking matter. All that matters, can the fucking horse see? That's the scene. I pictured in my head a scene of all the Mandalorians standing around after that, like, hey, guys, do you really think we should be having these ceremonies right out at the fucking giant crocodile monster lake? Is that really a good idea? It's the ceremonial fucking grounds. What are you talking about? Well, I mean, were you not there? It's like, what are they doing?
Points. I find the humor. Yes, I know humor.
What are they doing?
You've got you've got kids there, for Pete's sakes.
And you've got
In
Paz Vizsla, John Favreau's character.
in my mind, I pictured a sign at that lake that said like giant monster crocodile lake, like a sign. It's like, what the fuck are we doing having our ceremonial thing here? What the fuck is wrong with us? Like, guys, are we serious? That's the ceremonial grant. Anyway, yeah, but what are they doing? And by the way, why did they not retreat? You should have retreated. They're just like, yeah, let's shoot this giant armored tank.
With our pea shooters. And it takes Din coming in with his fighter. And I still got to say, I love that freaking fighter.
Yeah, the Mandos took too long. Absolutely. Yeah, it's like, fly. It's like, everybody involved should be fired. The leadership should be exiled. This is a mess. And by the way, they're on a desert.
Get better.
They're in a fucking desert, and they go to the one place where there's a giant crocodile lake. So they had to know those.
Lake Placid. I wonder. I really wonder.
Oh yeah, Betty White is one of the Mandos. Like she lifts off the helmet. It's Betty. Hello, my babies.
Nuke it from orbit. So I like to be sure. Yeah, pretty much, Jeff. You would think the Mandalorians will scan the whole surface of the planet. Okay, let's not have our sacred ceremony here. Let's have it here.
Yeah.
You would think they would have scanners that would be able to detect. Okay, I know we're picking a bit, although I enjoyed the episode immensely, but we're going to pick on this for just a little bit.
I think
there are scanners in Star Wars. There are sensors in Star Wars that can detect where there are different forms of life and can specify what types of forms of life. You would think the Mandalorians would have access to that exact same freaking technology and go, okay, let's set up our camp and our ritual site here where there aren't any massive crocodile-like creatures that could eat us in one bite. No. Oh, let's set up our camp and our ritual site here, exactly where the giant crocodile creature is at.
Where is Admiral Holdo
it's a cool
when you need her?
Scene. Screw Admiral Holdo, dumb cow.
Yeah, that scene was not good. And let me say this too. Well, let me throw this out there. To me, there's a visual disparity. It's like when you look at the stuff that's shot on a real set versus him going to the castle is a visual fucking chasm. It looks so much better than whatever set they were using. I'm not sure why. But the image of that, like even everything about it, it looked better.
I didn't. It all looked the same, and it all looked good. So, I mean, even the CGI for that creature and everything was on point. And everything the design was good, and the how they rendered it and everything. The render was on point. In terms of, I will say this. A lot of people have commented on the Pirate King, Gorian Shard.
Yeah.
And how an interesting looking creature. And we've never seen a creature like him before in the Star Wars universe, as far as I recall. And Mando just owns their ass. Kind of like with what happened in Andor with Luthen and that Imperial cruiser. Luthen's like, I'm just going to kick your asses. And Mando's like, I mean, Mando's just like, bye, bam. And
okay,
just so here like,
that was controversial. The look of that guy. Don't. So that was a controversy.
I
You
liked it.
know that.
I thought it was.
So did I. Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know.
Well, I've been saying for
Nothing wrong with his
years.
design. It was different.
For years, I've been saying they got to do something a little bit different. We can't keep getting the same old shit. So this was something totally unique. You've got this fucking pirate ship with the paint on it.
Yeah.
It looks like one of those Clone Wars era transports. The way they were all painted up, badass. What's the problem? What is the problem? That thing is a unique creature, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's something up with them. Like when you, if that guy's like a half plant or some shit, who knows what he is? When you shoot him, does he die? Like if you shoot him in the chest, what happens? We have no fucking idea what it is. I like it.
Well, I do too. Well, and also the design of the ship and everything, and how the turrets deploy. You look at the design of the ship, and you look at the design of like a traditional pirate ship, like from Pirates of the Caribbean. It does
Yeah,
harken back to that design, and how that for me was actually. I mean, it does harken to the classic pirate ship design from here from Earth. Except they took it and they modified it with blaster gun pods instead of cannons, and it worked.
it looks
And
badass.
if you look at the color, it does. I mean, you look at the black and white color scheme. What's the color of the pirate flag, the Jolly Roger, black and white? It works.
Badass voice on that guy too.
And now that it starts to they're putting the pirate in Star Wars, using pirate aesthetic in Star Wars, and it works. It actually looks really cool. I'm not gonna lie.
I agree, and I'm
Um,
glad they're switching it up. That dude is one of the most unique things we've ever seen, and that's refreshing. That is
yeah,
refreshing to see them
yeah.
change it up. So you watched Tales of the Jedi,
Mhm.
right?
Yes, I did.
So
Never,
the
I didn't
Inquisitor.
really talk about it, but I did watch it. Yeah.
Okay, so the Inquisitor that Ahsoka kills at the end.
Mm-hmm.
That dude evaporated. I said to myself, "What the fuck is that thing? What is it?" I like those kind of questions. It's intriguing to me. It's like, what is that thing? That's interesting. Do more of that. Give us more interesting shit. And not
Mm-hmm.
everything has to be totally spelled out. Give us some interesting creatures, characters. Change it up. So I
Mm-hmm.
like them taking risks. So anybody who's saying you can't take a risk, I'm against you. Like you should take risks. That's how
You
you
should
keep
take
this.
risks.
That's how you keep it fresh.
Yeah, but make it risks that make sense within the universe, not risks that are completely foreign to the universe.
Yeah, not a risk that could destroy the entire thing. You can so one character in a TV show is not going to do any major damage, even if it's the
No.
worst character ever. But you can't. So yeah, I'm with you there.
Now let me ask you: the evolution of Navarro. I made this comment the other day. Star Wars has always been described as a Western in space. The first time we see Navarro, it's very much a frontier town. You can make that comparison. Now Navarro is a major trade hub. And I think as Grief told Mando, they're on the Hylian Way, which is a major hyperspace route within the galaxy and within the Republic. I see that. I see what they did, and I cannot help but see the parallel being drawn between civilization being brought to the American West. And I love that they have tied those two things together. What did you think?
I'm with you, but I think you could expand on that. It's a good concept, but why? I mean, what comes to my mind when you say that to me is industrial revolution is what you see in this the evolution of this location.
Mm-hmm.
So there's and oftentimes you have elements of reality in fiction that give it some type of intrigue. And a lot of times fiction mirrors certain events, but just in a totally different way. So if we're talking industrial revolution of Navarro, what I would love to see, and it's a little bit of an offshoot, but why not have some kind of crazy old man Andrew Carnegie type character who is in charge of, do you see what I'm saying? Build out the culture of that location a little bit. Not to say they can't, but in one episode, but it's not a bad idea to have, those kind of supporting characters, inventors, and stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
might be interesting. Not sure how you feel about that.
Mm, it's not a bad idea. I mean, you could even have it be one of the miners or something, or head of the miners there on what Grief talked about, the belters and everything that are mining the asteroid field out near Navarro, and you actually see the mining equipment there. That and everything, I think, was a nice little piece of world building that you actually see active mining in an asteroid field.
Yeah.
That's something we've
Hmm.
never seen in Star Wars before. And the other everything, the other aspect, I love the fact that the Din is actually showing Grogu how the ship functions, how it works, and it's right before the space battle with those pirate fighters, and it's a nice little piece of character building as well as world building. Everything. It's Din trying to be more of a mentor more than simply just a protector for Grogu because he understands that Grogu is more intelligent than he appears. Everything. He may be only like 50 some odd years old in terms of his species aging process, but he is smarter than he gives him credit for. Or than he like I said, than Grogu. Grogu is
Right.
smarter than he looks.
Yeah.
So that I appreciated. Um
Well, but think of let me pitch the idea to you a little bit more, and I'll drop it after this. So
okay.
you could have a bottle episode of somebody trying to take over Navarro, this businessman
Oh, I
guy,
think we probably will.
where he makes an alliance with the pirates. Mando has to come in and help. Carl Weathers, is that his name?
Grief Karga, yeah. Hmm.
So okay, so that's what I thought. But so he needs Mando's help to come in and help him out. And you could have a scene with Grief where this businessman shows up with like 25, sci-fi riflemen. Grief's like, "This is my town," not anymore. You could have a badass like old Western style, uh, you know,
Well,
uh, conflict for control of that location.
I think you're gonna see that anyway, and I think it's gonna be Gorian Shard that's gonna happen with
That
because he
totally
doesn't seem.
works.
I think that's what they were actually setting up and everything as part of the season. Gorian going after Navarro and going after Grief, and you'll remember Grief asked Din, "I need a marshal. Are you willing to do it?" Because obviously they wrote Cara Dune out and everything. I thought what they did in terms of how they wrote her out, they worked. They didn't kill her off; they just wrote her out. She's elsewhere. So
Yeah.
that to me were that. I look. I said this the other day when I did my discussion on episode one. Did Gina Carano do and say some stupid stuff on social media? Yeah, she did. Is she within her rights as a free person to express herself, even as seemingly preposterous as her ideas may be? Yes, she is. Was she fired by Disney? No, her contract was never renewed. She was not brought in and fired summarily. She just didn't
Well,
have her contract picked up.
It's like fired
but
by
and that's
proxy.
essentially she was fired by proxy.
Yeah.
But you know,
But I don't care. I'll tell you
look,
this. Here's the hottest
I,
take out
don't-
there.
I
I never liked her character to begin with. I didn't give a fuck.
her
I didn't even
character.
like
Okay,
the
look,
character. I didn't care. But that being
And
said,
that's fair.
I do
I
think
liked her character.
she was kind of played. I don't like what they did to her, but the character never was my favorite character or anything.
I have her Black Series figure and everything of the character because I like the character. She wasn't, like I mentioned, like you said, she wasn't like my all-time favorite character, but I liked the character and I want to have the figure. And that's as far as it goes. I was never one of those. I stand with Gina Carano. I don't do hashtags. I don't do hashtags anymore. Period. I don't. I will not do another hashtag campaign for the rest of my life for the rest of the time I'm on social media or on the internet. I am done with hashtag campaigns. I am done with hashtag anything, except if it's something I'm working on personally.
Yeah,
I don't stand with Gina Carano, but
hashtag
she's
unity of the
entitled.
force. Right?
We're gonna get there. I'm sorry it's taking so long, but we'll get there. So, but it's oh, people saying do dumb stuff all the time. I've done it myself. And Gina Carano is just in the long list of people who have said and done dumb stuff on the internet. And you know what? Stupid is as stupid does, and we all do stupid. So what's the benefit of me white knighting for her? She's her own person. She's a grown woman. She did what she did. She can live with it, or she can't. Obviously, she can. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to watch Mandalorian Season 3 and I'm going to enjoy it sans Cara Dune.
Well,
You
you're
still
not
got
going to
Din. You
cancel.
still got Grogu.
Right. You can't cancel Mandalorian. This is like the only popular major Star Wars IP right now. I haven't even been following the news at all. I haven't even really been anticipating the season coming out. When I saw it on Twitter, I'm not shitting you. I heard the goddamn theme song play in my head as I saw the announcement. Mandalorian comes out tonight. I literally heard the theme.
I did too. Because that theme has become iconic.
Dun, 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 dun. I heard it. It's like, damn. Wow, I guess I do like it.
Everybody likes it unless you have no taste or class. But
All right.
But so you've got two winner.
We should do an Ambassadorial Wing Savage moments. Just all your shit talking, put it all together. You got no fucking class if you don't like Mando.
You don't have no class if you don't like Mando, and you have no taste or style if you don't like Wednesday. Because I liked Wednesday, and of course I like Mando. But I will not watch Bad Batch.
No, me neither.
I've only watched 2 episodes of Bad Batch, and there was the 2 episodes that involved Palpatine and him instituting the Stormtrooper Legion, essentially, and pretty much just screwing and pretty much just mass retiring the clones. I have not watched aside from that, I have not watched a single episode of Bad Batch because season 1
was horrible.
Just is ground to a freaking standstill. I even watched it and Echo left. The one clone that got all cyberdized.
Yep. Yep.
I didn't feel a thing. Why? Because I care.
But here's the thing.
I didn't care.
Here's the bottom line with Bad Batch. Let me know if you agree with this. I'll give it to you short and sweet. For me, what they've done is they've taken the Clone Wars and they've brought it down and shrunk it by about 100%. They've taken this grand, giant, beautiful, amazing, complicated story with many components and have focused on 1/100th of that concept. It's like, you can't do that. You can't do that. It just doesn't work, man. It's like the Clone Wars. It was so beautiful. It was intricate. In my mind, and I don't say this lightly, one of the most grand, like the Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark. That felt like a grand adventure. So did the Clone
It was.
Wars. The Clone Wars felt that way. Though it felt like
Mhm.
old school Hollywood, as it was this big giant story with many different um, with many different elements. And yet you take that and you take
Mhm.
1/100th and you do a show. Doesn't work.
I mean, they've tried to expand out from just the Bad Batch from the one group, but the anchor is not compelling. I'm sorry. They were good for the episodes they were in of season 7 of Clone Wars, but they did not deserve their own show. It didn't work. For me at least, it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
And I imagine, I mean, obviously the two of us. I mean,
And
I
by the
don't
way,
hate it.
you and I represent two different mindsets on Star Wars. We both agree on this. That should say a lot. I mean, you and I, we line up on some things. I think we disagree on probably a decent amount. We're both in agreement. This fucking Bad Batch show is a waste of time.
It is, unfortunately, yeah. It is. It's a waste of time and talent and resources. And yeah, as far as Ahsoka goes, I'm gonna be there for that in spades. If they do, they're gonna be doing season 2 of Star Wars Visions. I'm definitely there for that because season 1 definitely won me over. I mean, I've always been a fan of anime, and obviously I'm a fan of Star Wars, so it's a combination of two genres and two mediums and everything that I absolutely love. And but Bad Batch, as stellar as Wednesday was as a live action show, Bad Batch is a dud of a animated series. Just to put this kind of in a
Absolutely.
perspective, in the context
Yeah,
of what I've been discussing, we've been discussing tonight,
please.
Wednesday hits on all cylinders. Bad Batch is a dud. Wednesday is a high-end sports car. Bad Batch is a lemon. It's a clunker. It's a used car. It's a used car parking lot car that's sitting on the back 40 that the salesman gives to an absolute sucker.
It's got the speedometer rolled back. It's got it's held together by
It's
duct
got
tape.
Yeah, it's now, but
Let me throw this out there. Can I throw something out there? Okay, so Boba Fett,
hmm,
same category. I hate to say it, same category for me.
for you, not for me. There were there were a lot
Like a
more
bantha.
parts. If you look at Book
I
of Boba
laugh at
Fett,
them. Like a bantha. Who put that in? Are you fucking kidding?
no, no
Who
idea,
who put that in there?
no idea. But I will say this: if they had presented, I know there's a way they could have done it. If they had presented Book of Boba Fett as an anthology series that's centered around Boba Fett, but also characters connected to him or connected to that universe, it would have worked a lot better. they had a good idea, they just didn't frame it right. Whereas with Wednesday, they had a clear through line, a clear story, a clear narrative, and they executed it perfectly. And not to mention, they had Grant Wednesday had two directors. They had Tim Burton. He was the big name, but there was another guy that directed, like, I think 2 or 3 episodes of the series as well. I can't think of his name off the top of my head besides Tim Burton. But where Wednesday hits on every single cylinder, Book of Boba Fett suffered from not being framed properly. If I'm looking at it from my perspective,
Yeah.
it should have been done as an anthology series
Well,
because it does, having other characters that are connected to Boba and connected to the Mando and everything that are more the focus lends to a book anthology type of structure or a movie or a TV series anthology type of structure. But they didn't. I don't know how it could be fixed, but I know there's a way that it could be fixed that would have made Book of Boba Fett hit a lot better for a lot more people and everything than it did.
yeah.
The other,
Well,
the
go ahead.
other problem. Go ahead, Zach.
Sorry. No, my bad, man.
No,
Go
it's
ahead.
all right.
Sorry.
Go. The other thing I'm going to say, and yes, I know I'm part of this and everything. I'm part of this of that culture. Everything. I fully admit to it. That's why I've gone to a different model in terms of how I review things. When you have weekly reviews by lots of YouTubers and so on, dissecting every episode week by week instead of waiting until the full story is out and then doing it. I get you're wanting to you want content for your channels. I understand that. But the question I have to ask is, do you want quantity or do you want quality? Because you're only getting a bit of the story every week. Now, I'm not telling anybody how to run their channel. I'm just saying how I'm doing mine now. Because I literally binged Wednesday over a couple of days. It was 8 episodes. I forget how I divided it up. I did over a couple of days, and now I'm talking about the whole thing now. I'm going to do the same thing for Mandalorian. I'm not going to, or I may do a mid-season review, and then I'll do a concluding. Now, I did a discussion on episode 1, but that is the only episode I will cover until mid-season, and then until end of season. But I think the over dissection of each and every single episode, instead of looking at it as a whole, I think sometimes tinges people's perception of a property or of a show or of a series or of even, well, not so much a movie, but most definitely a series, a weekly series. Unless it's a really old series, like that's been out for a long time, then you can do it episode by episode.
Does Babylon 5 come to mind? Wait, so you've concluded your reviews, correct?
Did that last year, November of last year, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, that the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the Orville, but a few of my panelists, they've got some stuff going on, so I'm waiting until they get things sorted out and everything. Nothing bad, just they got personal stuff going on, and I don't want them to be distracted, and I don't want to cut in on their time and everything. Then I need to start watching the Orville as well. But so the next series we're going to do is the Orville.
Yeah, you got Norm Macdonald playing a blob. You know he's in that, right? One of my favorites. I love Norm.
I heard about Norm Macdonald being in that. Yeah, it was kind of a shame. It's a shame him passing on because
it is.
I haven't seen any clips of it, but I did hear about Norm Macdonald being on the Orville. I've actually heard that they've actually gotten, I think, a few more, or they did have a few more Star Trek alum or TNG alums and everything make appearances in season 3. Come on, Hulu.
So okay, can I let me throw just a couple things out at the wall, okay?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I have to admit a traitorous deed. I have watched in its entirety Knives Out 1.
You are so close to being removed. I won't do it. I
And
won't. I won't do it.
are you ready?
Hash, hashtag
Are
cancel Zach.
you ready? It was pretty good.
Go ahead. I don't care.
It wasn't bad. I
I do.
actually, you know
I
what?
do. I do not care. I'm
You
glad
know
you
what?
enjoyed it, but I will never watch it. Nope.
Daniel Craig
I will
was
never.
playing. He was doing a southern accent. He was playing a southern detective.
I don't care.
Okay, all right. So I saw a couple. I saw a couple more. I saw The Whale with Brendan Fraser.
Okay. All right. That I'm interested to hear about. So, how is it?
Mediocre. It kind of mediocre. You've got Brendan kind of carrying the whole film. Doesn't quite live up to this crazy hype I've heard about, but it wasn't bad. And I think the film more is a vehicle for him than an actual film, if that makes sense.
Yes. I get it. It's
And
kind
then
of a comeback vehicle
ab-
for him.
absolutely, it's kind of Oscar bait. To me, it wasn't great. So if you review that one, I'll come on and talk about it. Man, it wasn't what I
I'll
thought.
have to get. I'll have to put it on the. I'll have to put it on the schedule. I've already got. Well, you've seen the stuff I've sent you. You know what I've got on the schedule. I've
Yeah,
got a
quite
lot,
a
and I'm
bit.
still working on more. I've got more I'm working on. So
And then last one I saw was Knock at the Cabin.
Okay, how was that?
because I was on the fence about watching. How was it?
Pretty fucking good. Yeah, it's good. It's M Night is a guy who I have thought to myself, I'm just done with this fucking guy. I have defended this guy
Mm-hmm.
over the years. It's like he's creative, he's you know unique. After I saw the movie Old, I'm like, fuck this, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
Old was a piece of shit. Knock at the
Mm-hmm.
Cabin, man, is fucking phenomenal. And Dave Batista steals the whole fucking show. I mean, this guy is like a dynamite, gives a dynamite performance.
He has really evolved into a really, I don't want to say top notch, but a really
Yes. No, yes.
mid.
Top notch is yes. I agree.
Okay.
You got it.
He has really evolved into an excellent actor. And not everybody's able to do that, but you know what? He's worked with good directors. He worked with James Gunn. I know you don't care for Gunn, that's fair enough. But Gunn is a good director. You may not be a fan of the types of movies he does, but Gunn knows how to get good performances out of people. And not only that, but he's also worked with Denis Villeneuve, and now he's actually worked with Denis Villeneuve on a couple of movies. He worked with him on Blade Runner 2049. Now he's worked with him on Dune Part 1 and Part 2, obviously. And now he's worked with M. Night.
Yeah. He's great.
And
he was so good in this. Like he was so good.
Yeah. Let me ask you, would you say this is a return to form for M. Night? Back to like Sixth Sense or Unbreakable?
Wow. Yes, I would. This was such a fucking great movie, and
Mm-hmm.
it was really one of the best experiences I've had watching a film in a while. And I don't mean to oversell it. I mean, it's not going to like blow you away or anything, but it is good.
No, I get you.
It's good. Yeah, this is M. Night's
I'll have
best
to-
movie in 10 years. Yeah, this is better than Glass, better than
That's
just about everything he's done lately. Yeah, really good. Straightforward, no bullshit.
Okay.
Yeah, really good.
I'll have to check it out. I saw the trailers for it, and I was honestly kind of interested, even though it was connected to M. Night Shyamalan. But I was like, I feel like I want to give this a chance. And hearing your critique of it, yeah, I think I definitely want to.
There is no critique. It's so good. I don't even have really a bad word to say. You and I could spend an hour just on Dave Batista. the complexity of that character is really what's so fucking great about the movie. He's the central piece on the board in that.
I believe you. I do. I mean, he started out with a more comedic character, that being Drax, but now he's really expanded out and he's taken on some more heavier stuff. Grant, he's kind of stuck to the science fiction realm, which I think he's a good fit for, but now he's done
Sure.
something that's more suspenseful, but I think is a good place for him. I mean, is he necessarily going to ever win an Oscar? Maybe. If he gets the right project. If he gets the right project, he could potentially could.
You got to see him in this before you say that, man. He's so good. This is an Oscar-worthy part.
Shame he didn't get nominated. At least I don't think he did.
No, he didn't.
Yeah. So. Okay. Well, went for a bit longer than I expected, but that's not a bad thing, really. But I think we are going to wrap up for the evening, and I want to thank Zach, of course. Thank you for coming on, bud, and appreciate your insights. Good stuff all across the board.
Good to see you.
And hey, bud, you too. And I want to thank everybody who tuned in tonight, and everything, those who are here live, and those who will catch us on the replay. Make sure you leave your comments down below with anything myself and Zach brought up, and everything about Chris Rock, about Wednesday, Mando, Star Wars, M. Night Shyamalan, Dave Bautista, whatever. I will be back on in a couple of days or anything, back live. I'm working on some videos as well and everything, getting those put together and so on. So keep an eye on my social media over on Twitter and Instagram and everything. But hope you all have a great night. Thank you all for being here as always. And of course, as always, stay ambassadorial. Of course, that means come in with a good take. Don't come in with BS. Be respectful. Be sincere. And if you do all those things, you always have a place here. And until next time.